Bonjour, friends. So it's that wonderful time of year where we start to really get excited in anticipation for this new year that lies ahead and all the promises it's going to bring, all the resolutions we want to have for ourselves, all the changes we see in the year ahead. And it brings me to a topic of ideas. And the reason I felt compelled about this podcast is I was talking to a dear friend, and we're starting to really mentalize and focus on 2025. And she said to me, it scared her. She didn't have an idea of ideas. She felt like she was in a void of what she could do and how she wants to do it. And my God, we have all been there. I know I certainly have. And I just did a podcast about the purpose of ideas and all the different ways that they can influence you and what they mean for you. But what happens if you don't have an idea? That can be the scariest, most frustrating part. If you want to restart, if you want this new year to mean so much, and you're feeling like you're in a desert, in a deficit, I have been there on so many occasions. And somebody who's a self-confessed, I won't call myself a type A, but I love to have a goal. I love to have a purpose. And when I don't, I just feel awful. I flounder. I don't feel good with myself. I feel unfulfilled. I feel that I don't have any direction. So I wanted to talk about ways and tools I use to generate ideas. Welcome to Generate Her. I'm Jane Bertch. I spent the first half of my life working in a corporate organization, and then I decided to trade that all in to become an entrepreneur. Yes, here in your favorite city of Paris, France. And today, I hope I'm a guide on your journey to personal reinvention and transformation. Before I get into that, let me say, if you don't know where you're going, you cannot officially be lost. I'm going to repeat it so you can catch it. If you don't know where you're going, you can't be lost. And I try to hold tight to that when I am in those deserts, when I don't know exactly what my focus is. I think that's fine. I'm not lost. I'm just in a holding pattern and something will reveal itself. But if I want to get proactive and really get those juices flowing, I've got 8 things that I tend to do that I wanted to share with you in hopes that they might be some help some way. So the first thing is mentoring. Now, I am looking actively for a mentor, but in the absence of that, I never underestimate the power of me being a mentor in a relationship. When you're in a position where you've been given a gift to help advise and share with somebody that it's in a certain point in their career, that is a blessing. And I find the exchanges with that person and me helping them to generate ideas, to think about what they might do, how they're going to do it, to brainstorm, to throw spaghetti on the wall. I find those so incredibly enriching. 9 times out of 10, while I'm present with that person, my mind is racing with different ideas that are coming to me. So I find that to be a really, really powerful, incredible relationship to help me generate ideas. So if you're not in a situation where you're mentoring and helping somebody, go out there and find somebody. There's plenty of people that could use your knowledge and wisdom, and I can guarantee you that that is going to be an incredibly fulfilling relationship for both of you. Number 2, writing. So I'm going to credit Julia Cameron for her morning pages. I started a writing practice many years ago, and it's really just a journal. There's nothing really thoughtful about my writing, except for that it is my morning practice to get up and evacuate what's in my mind, which could be junk, It could be insecurities. It could be I didn't sleep well. It could be I'm feeling nervous and apprehensive about something. But as I work through that process, the act of writing helps me to flush out new ideas. Sometimes I look for prompts. Sometimes I look for inspiration in what I want to write about. That writing itself could give me questions about how I'm feeling, about what I want to do, about different directions I want to take. So step 2 for me is to just sit and write. If you can give yourself a quiet 5-10 minutes to sit and do that, don't underestimate the power of that. Now, Julia Cameron, I believe, has 3 pages. That doesn't work for me every morning. Sometimes I don't have the time, but I do try to do 1 page. And I consider that an incredibly powerful outlet to not just come up with new ideas, but to clear my mind so there's space for them. And that is incredibly important. Number 3. And I did an Instagram post about this not too long ago. Having a coffee with a friend. Taking time to have a coffee with a friend. And sometimes this feels like an incredible luxury. I've got a busy schedule. On any given day, have a number of different projects I want to work on. So my mindset before was, can I take time? Can I spend the time to sit for 2 hours with a friend to have coffee and be 100% present? And that's one of the best uses of my time, especially if we up-level that discussion, like with some of the ladies I know, it ends up being about their dreams, their wishes, their fears, what they're working on, what they hope to achieve. Again, it's an exchange that I find incredibly useful and helpful for my idea generation. Not only should you be taking time to do that for yourself and for others, because it's a wonderful way to grow your connections and your relationships, which it takes time, but I find it incredibly rewarding. I will say on top of that, if you can find 1 or 2, you don't need 100 pennies. This is a 4-quarter situation. If you can find 1 or 2 people who are perhaps in the same situation as you, maybe trying to build a business, maybe trying to come up with ideas, and have a sparring, I like to call it a sparring exchange, those are gold mines. I've got 2 girlfriends that I do that with, one here in Paris, one who lives internationally, so we do it via Zoom. We have a set schedule of when we're going to talk. We talk about where we are with our projects. We talk about our challenges. We talk about our fears, our insecurities, our wins. We review it all. And in those exchanges, ultimately, they always give me things I hadn't considered. It's like a beam of bright light when you're sometimes feeling like you're in a dark tunnel. So, point 3, find yourself a small community of people that you really feel enriched and motivated by. Spend time with them. That's a mutual exchange that I think is rich in ideas and self-confidence. So I'd really, really encourage you to do that. Number 4, reading. This is my biggest challenge. One time, I want to be I've got so many books. I have got walls of books. And I particularly like self-help books. And I even joke with my girlfriend Delphine that my self-help books are so darn well traveled. Every time I go somewhere, even on a plane, if I've got 8 hours, okay, I'm going to pack up all my books. I'm going to read them all on the plane. And by the time I come out, I'm going to be a better person. Well, that doesn't always help. But the point is to read. When you read, you're collecting data, you're collecting ideas. Maybe you're challenging your assumptions. Maybe you're looking at things from a different viewpoint. And that is super important. Where I want to stretch myself in 2025 is I tend to be a nonfiction reader. I know it. I know that I love to learn, so I tend to gravitate towards nonfiction because I always feel that there's some new information that I'm getting that I didn't know before. But what I've done that I'm going to change is I've underestimated the power of fiction. Talk about a minefield of creativity, just to come up with these characters and these scenarios and these beautiful storylines. That in itself is pure creativity that I think will help me with ideas. So that's something I'm holding myself accountable for. Number 5. Speaking of creativity, finding creative outlets. Going to museums, going to the theater, visiting an art gallery. These are just beautiful forms of stimulation that can only but help you look at the world in another way. And when you look at the world in another way, it opens up a bouquet of ideas to you. I'll be the first to admit I don't practice this regularly. I'm going to try to practice what I preach. I'm in Paris. We are ripe with museums and galleries and theatrical performances and the opera. So I'm going to hold myself accountable to that, to find every creative outlet I can. And I hope you do the same. And the reason that's important to me is I think creativity plays such a crucial role in your confidence. And I'll come up with this theme again and again because I think it's so important. If you don't feel a sense of creativity, you are not able to reimagine yourself. You're not able to reimagine your business. You're not able to reimagine what you'd want to learn. You're not able to reimagine your relationships. And if you're not able to reimagine them, you lose confidence in your ability to do so. So it's like this vicious circle that if you continue to build your creative confidence, those other elements will fall into place. And the only way I see to do that are through creative outlets. Number 6, role models. I have so many role models. I cherry pick from my role models. There's people like Mel Robbins, Brene Brown, Bosma St. John, Tabitha Brown. I can name off probably about 20 different role models. Now, mind you, these are public figures. I know I only see a small bit of them. Okay, so I don't put them on a pillar for their entire lives. What I do is I cherry pick the things I love about them. I love that Mel is just Mel. That's my impression of who I see with her. I love that Tabitha Brown has such integrity in who she is. I love that Brene Brown she just feels like an open book and a wonderful person. So I see those little attributes of people and I try to integrate them into who I am. They have no clue who I am, but I think through seeing them and emulating some of the wonderful characteristics I see of them, that helps me. Now, how does that help my ideas? Because I look for small signs. I look for small signs in what attracts me to them. What do I love about them? So let me talk about Mel Robbins for a second. She is a podcast that I consume. Sometimes I re-listen to them. I found them so extremely powerful. And listening to her gave me the idea that, my gosh, I'd love to have a podcast one day. I'd love to be the Mel Robbins for someone that she is to me. Someone that gives you courage, someone that pushes you. She uses tough love now and then, and I'm okay with that. And I get so much from her. And I stopped and looked at what I got from her with her as my role model. And I realized that's what I would love to be for somebody. And that's why I decided to start this podcast. So whoever you are, even if you're party of one listening and you get something out of this, then my dream is fulfilled. I have reached this wonderful idea and goal that I've harbored for so long. So take a very close look at your role models. See what you love about them. See what they tell you about yourself. There's probably a mine of ideas in there for you. Number 7, try something new. Try something new and try to give yourself a schedule. So you're going to hear me talk about my friend Delphine because she's very meaningful to me, and she just always comes up with the coolest things. So she told me once a week, this is too much for me, but once a week she has to try something new. And I just love that. And that try something new could be pick up a new book. It could be take another different route when you're walking. It could be to see a theatrical performance she hadn't seen. It could be to go to an art gallery. The menu is large on what she can do, but she must do one new thing a week. And I love that. And she is rigorous with it. And I think that is a wonderful way to help you generate ideas. Again, you're just enriching your mental data bank of experiences. And all those experiences, I believe, sit dormant until the moment that they pop out and perhaps give you your next best idea. And number 8, this is the hardest one. This is the hardest one, but I credit this for my business here in Paris, La Cuisine Paris. Allow yourself to daydream. Allow yourself a quiet moment where you just sit and imagine, where you close your eyes and you just imagine what could be. If you ask yourself, what do I want to be when I grow up? Which, by the way, I hope you ask yourself that at any age. There's always an opportunity for an encore, for a number 2 performance, for a number 3 performance. The only restrictions we have, we put on ourselves. But if you don't allow yourself that precious, precious time to just sit with yourself and daydream, you're losing out on tons of ideas. And I know this one is hard. I know we have so much noise every day in the morning. You know, before we even get out of bed, our phones are beeping. We're waking up with the to-do list that rolled over from yesterday. But stop and bless yourself with those 1 to 2 minutes where you just imagine another way of doing something. So there we are. My 8 tools that I try to use to generate ideas. None of them are foolproof. They might not even be for you, but hopefully, as I talked about before, sometimes an idea you have can be a stepping stone to another. So if any of these help for you to generate ideas, to come up with the motivation to experiment with them, and I do mean experiment, nothing is set in stone. I think we can be so cruel to ourselves when we find an idea and we pursue it and we decide it's not for us. It's okay to quit. And oftentimes with myself and for friends I know, we start to lash ourselves for not being committed and being fickle and not seeing it through. Some ideas are never meant to be seen through. They're meant for you to test yourself, to test your conviction, to test your interests. That's okay. Those are little experiments you can do. So friends, as we go into 2025, which is going to be a spectacular year, I can really feel it. And I want that for you, and I want that for me, and I want that for our community, because I think we deserve that. We deserve it. We know we need to work for it. And here's my 8 tips on how to do that. And until next time, keep growing, keep shining, keep reinventing yourself. There's a new you waiting around the corner. A bientôt, mes amis.